Commission for the city of Denison. We're glad all of you are here with us this morning. It's our first meeting for 2026, so Happy New Year to you. And as tradition, we're going to begin our meeting with an invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. If you care to join us, we'd ask you to stand. I'm going to ask Kurt if you would lead us in the pledge this morning. Let's start with our invocation. Father, we thank you again for another opportunity to be together to resolve the business of our city. We thank you for this place we call home, and we ask that your blessings would be upon this meeting. In Christ's name we pray, amen.
Amen. Please join with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. We'll go through a little housekeeping rules here before we get started this morning. Planning Commission is a recommending body, so all cases with the exception of plats and site plans will be sent on to the City Council for final approval. The cases on our agenda today will be on the council's agenda for
January 20th, which is a Tuesday.
Okay. So January 20th. On public hearing cases, we're going to give you the opportunity to come to the lectern and speak. When you come to the podium, we're going to ask that you would give us your name and address for the record, and we'll impose a 3-minute time limit on speakers this morning. Okay, that being said, I think we have some items we need to take care of as far as swearing in and electing chair and vice chair. Is that correct?
Yes.
Which one you want to do first?
We're going to administer the statements of officer and the oaths first.
Okay.
So if I could have the 3 reappointments stand and also the 2 new alternates if y'all can come up here. And we're just going to swear you in. And you can, if you'd like to bring your oath with you so that you won't have to memorize everything that I'm trying to say, basically there's there.
George, you were supposed to memorize it. Hey, I'm new to this.
George, you didn't do your homework.
Okay, if everyone would just raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
Ernest Pickett.
Do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the duties
that I will faithfully execute the duties
of the office as a member
of the office as a member
of the Planning and Zoning Commission
of the Planning and Zoning Commission
for the city of Denison, Texas,
for the city of Denison, Texas,
and will, to the best of my ability,
and will, to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution and laws of the United States
the Constitution and laws of the United States
and of this state, so help me God.
and of the state, so help me God.
Thank you. And if you could just sign your oath and you got it. Thank you. And then the next item is going to be the selection of a chair and vice chair. Each will serve a 1-year term. And at this time, the floor is open for nominations for chair.
I would like to nominate Jarvis here.
Second?
Are there any other nominations? Call for a vote.
All right, we're going to take a vote on that. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And I will be abstaining, of course.
And at this time, nominations are open for a vice chair.
I move to nominate Sylvester again.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, and then you'll call for a vote.
All right. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Sylvester's abstaining. Okay. I don't know if we should call them friends or not. I don't know. All right. So we got all that out of the way now?
Yes.
All right, so let's move into our consent agenda. Are there any items on here that the pleasure of the commission to remove from the consent agenda for individual discussion?
Haven't seen.
Okay, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion on the consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda from November 11th, 2025.
Second it. Have a second? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. so we are gonna go into our public hearings now. And, so we will go to item 4A, and I will officially open the public hearing for this particular item. Ms. York.
Thank you, sir. The first item I have for you this morning is to receive a report, hold a discussion, and conduct a public hearing, and make a recommendation to initially zone approximately .194 acres of land that is relatively located west of 84, north of FM 406, and this is case number 2025-04Z. This property is also subject to a voluntary petition for annexation. The subject property is outlined in yellow. You can see Texoma Drive or FM 84 right there to the east of the property, and FM 406 is just south. This is city-owned property that we have acquired, and we are looking to bring it into the city limits. The city is seeking the initial zoning of agriculture, and at this time, staff recommends approval of the request. The annexation will be heard by City Council on January 20th, preceding this zoning case on the same agenda. And I'm present for any questions you may have.
Any questions of staff? All right, seeing none. Is there anyone here in the audience that would like to speak on this request, either for or against? Okay, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, and we will entertain a motion.
I move to recommend initially zoning the subject property to the agricultural parent A district.
Second.
Have a motion with a second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Let's go to item 4B. We open the public hearing.
Thank you. Item 4B is receive a report, hold a discussion, conduct a public hearing, and make a recommendation to initially zone approximately 14.753 acres of land located generally south of FM 1310. This property is also the subject of a voluntary petition for annexation. This is case number 2025-05Z. This is the subject property. FM 1310 is that thoroughfare that runs right in front of this property. Obviously, that's Lake Texoma to the north, and Randell Lake to the south. This is also city-owned property that we acquired a long time ago, but for some reason, this just wasn't brought into the city limits. And so now the city is initiating that annexation and is seeking the initial zoning of agriculture for this property as well. Staff recommends approval of the requests, and I'm present for any questions you may have.
All right, any questions of staff? All right, seeing none, is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak on this request? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. I'll entertain a motion.
I move to recommend initially zoning the subject property to the agricultural A district.
Second.
Have a motion with a second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Item 4C, we will open the public hearing for item 4C.
Thank you, sir. Item 4C is receive a report, hold a discussion, conduct a public hearing, and make a recommendation on a request for a conditional use permit for a bar and mobile food unit within the local retail district, also located within the commercial historic overlay district and the Austin Avenue overlay district for a property commonly known as 221 North Austin Avenue. And this is case number 2025-15 Cup. This is the subject property, just located south of, or at the corner of Gandy and Austin Avenue. This may look familiar to some of you. I can't remember who was on the commission when this original conditional use permit came through a couple of times. This is Slush Premium Daiquiris. They've been in operation for quite some time now under the conditional use permit for a bar, but because they are wanting to expand that use and include another use or just expanding the operations in general, unfortunately they have to come through for another conditional use permit. The subject property, as I mentioned, is zone local retail and falls within those two overlay districts. Outside of requesting for that mobile food unit, there is no change to their original conditional use permit. They are not expanding their hours. They are not moving or changing any traffic patterns. They'll still have their drive-through located on the west side. Parking remains on site. They are going to locate that food truck kind of on the north side of that property in between the drive-through and the parking. It's option 2 on the site plan that's a part of your agenda. That is the most appropriate and the safest location for that food truck. and has been approved by the fire marshal. As this request does not amend any of those items that I mentioned prior, staff is recommending approval of the request. It does comply with the comprehensive plan, bringing in, additional eating places. And with that, I'm present for any questions you may have, and the applicant is here as well if you have any questions for them.
Any questions of staff?
Do we have that hand-drawn depiction of two different, by chance?
It should be in the agenda. I don't have it on the slides, though.
Why is it that the fire marshal wanted two, the northernmost one versus,
The one on the south.
yeah?
So it's kind of hard to see, but there is some significant right-of-way there. The traffic for the parking also comes in off of Austin and exits back onto Austin. Also, the food truck has to be, I think, 10 feet away from a building or 5 feet away from a building, and because that awning is attached to the structure itself, it couldn't go underneath there.
Couldn't go underneath.
Correct, yes, sir. There is a little, you can kind of see it from here, there's a little call-out space separating the parking from that drive-through, and it'll fit.
It butts up then right
Yes, sir.
against Austin.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? All right. Is there anyone here today that would like to speak on this request? Applicants here, I believe.
That's me.
Hi, I'm Heather LaRosa, 2018 Norwood Street, Sherman. I am the owner of Slush and helping Mauricio and Alejandro with the food truck. And do y'all have any other additional questions for me?
No problems with where the fire marshal?
No, I talked with him about it, and basically that overhang it considered part of the building, so that was the whole issue, was the 10 feet issue. So, and it could have gone either place. We liked number one because of visibility from the street, but the other location will be fine too.
And electrics and water is all contained?
Everything's contained. It doesn't attach the building for anything, not water, not electricity. It really is two complete separate things. Like, it's just the fact that it's sitting in our parking lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the length of this? What's the length on this CUP?
The length of the CUP, it's forever unless the use changes.
Okay. So that gives you plenty of time to change your address from Sherman to Denison.
Yeah. Well, the last time I had to come in here, I was like, sure.
Any other questions of the applicant? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anyone else here who will speak on this request? Either for or against? Okay. Seeing none, we will close the public hearing and I will entertain a motion.
I move to recommend the approval of the request for a conditional use permit for a bar and a mobile food unit for Slush Premium Daiquiris located at 221 North Austin Avenue.
I'll second.
Motion with a second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Item 4D, we will open that public hearing.
Thank you, sir. Receive a report, hold a discussion, conduct a public hearing, and take action on a replat for Lot 1R and 2R of the Lillis at 120 Edition, being a replat of Lot 1 Price Memorial Edition and adjoining tract to the north being 5.574 acres. This is case number 2025-09RP. This is the aerial view of that subject property. For reference, you have Lillis Lane going to the south, and that's FM 120 to the north. That structure you see within the yellow polygon is Simmons Bank. The property is zoned local retail, commercial, and falls within the highway oriented and corridor overlay district. And this is the proposed replat. The purpose of the replat is basically to just provide additional acreage to that lot, 2-R, for the development of the lot. Several additional applications will have to be provided to city staff prior to the development of that lot, site plan, civil engineering plans, things of that nature. And because this property is located within that highway overlay, that site plan will come before this body for approval. Each lot has adequate means of ingress and egress, serviced by Lillis Lane, FM 120, and possibly York Avenue. Staff recommends approval of the request. I'm present for any questions you may have, and the applicant is here as well if you have questions for them.
Okay. Any questions of staff?
This is the one we already approved for, we already had an approval on this one, correct? It wasn't a replat though, but wasn't for use?
Oh, what? Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Okay.
for a rezone
It was
to
a rezone
commercial.
for
Mhm.
commercial, okay. All right.
All right, no questions of staff? Is the applicant here?
I'm not the applicant per se, but I told them I would be here because they might be running late. Kate Wagner and 222 West Main Street. I'm the surveyor that did this. They don't have any concrete plans on what they're gonna do. The main purpose, like Diane said, was just to add a piece of the bank property to the adjacent property and get them split up and legally separated. So that's what I have so far. Any
Any
questions?
questions for Kate? Thanks,
Thank you.
Kate.
Thank you.
You used to see Kate all the time, so she never comes anymore. Good to see you. Okay, I'm gonna close the public hearing, and we will entertain a motion.
I move to approve the proposed replat.
Second?
Got a motion with a second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. We will open 4E.
Thank you, sir. Receive a report, hold the discussion, conduct a public hearing, and take action on a replat for Lot 1R and 2R, Block 7 of the Miller's First Edition, being a replat of Lot 1, Block 7, Miller's First Edition, case number 2025-01RP. This is an aerial view of that subject property located at 900 West Sears Street. I can't remember, I think that's Scullin to the south. I'm sorry, that's Sears running east and west, and I believe that's Scullin running north and south. As you can tell, the property has been developed in a residential manner with two structures being located on this one lot. One is a duplex and one is a single-family structure. The property is zoned multifamily 1, and this is the proposed replat. The applicant is seeking this plat in order to subdivide the property into 2 lots, allowing for each of these existing structures to live solely on their own property. To facilitate this subdivision, the plat does require that the Planning and Zoning Commission consider granting some exceptions to the development standards outlined in that multifamily zoning district. The existing structures do not meet the minimum building setbacks or lot coverage requirements, and the proposed lot configuration does not comply with the minimum lot dimensions or area standards specified in section 28.30, which is that zoning district for the multifamily 1. Staff is supportive of this proposed replat, as the 2 structures have been developed for a significant amount of time and have been functioning independently for several years. Each structure has separate utility connections, as well as individual metering, both for obviously water and electric. As I mentioned, staff is supportive of the request. I'm present for any questions that you may have, and the applicant is here as well if you have any questions for them.
Questions of staff?
Would any motion have to include the continuing the legal non-conforming basis and do prohibit any expansion?
No, sir, that's already protected by the ordinance. It was just to make sure that you guys knew that they wouldn't lose their legal nonconformity status, and also just to express in a public meeting that there could be no expansion of those structures.
Okay, exactly, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anybody else? Okay, would the applicant like to come forward?
Andrew Cassidy, 450 Oasis Drive, Denison, Texas. I'm just looking to separate the 2 properties so they could be individually on their own, as they are tied together right now. And if there are any questions I can answer, I will.
Any questions of the speaker? All right, thank you, sir. Anyone else here to speak on this case? Okay, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. We can entertain a motion.
I move to approve the proposed replat.
I'll second.
Have a motion with a second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. And that brings us to item 4F. We will open that particular item.
Thank you. Item 4F is receive a report, hold a discussion, conduct a public hearing, and make a recommendation to amend Section 28.50 off-street parking and loading requirements, Section 28.54 currently exterior construction and design standards, and related sections of the zoning ordinance to add architectural design standards for new residential development. And this is case number 2025-16ZO. And with that, I'd ask Ms. Phyllis Gerald to come to the podium.
Well, good morning, Commission. I'm pleased to be back before you today with the formal public hearing for the adoption of architectural design standards for residential development. The Commission has reviewed this and discussed it in two previous meetings. So we've taken feedback from the Commission and builders that we did have a builders meeting in December to review the proposals with some of the area home builders. And so today we want to approve or to present the final language of the ordinance amendments to you for consideration and recommendation to City Council. Some of the design standard goals for the city, we are trying to comply with one of the comprehensive plan recommendations regarding infill development and having infill development kind of match, complement the architecture of existing neighborhoods, promote a variety of housing types, and positively impact the streetscape, minimize the impact of parking and paving in front yards, and then encourage high quality and enduring construction. We did hold a builders meeting in December, and just some of the comments that came from the builders that I wanted to pass along to the Commission for consideration. Builders expressed concern about the additional cost related to meeting architectural design standards and how that might impact what they see are already marginal profits on their projects. Also, they expressed a concern about the cost of building in Denison compared to other local cities when you add in all the requirements and fees. They did have some changes, suggested changes to the standards, a couple of which we've incorporated into what you're seeing today. One is to eliminate the grass strip between duplex driveways if a shared driveway is provided. And as it was explained, sometimes there'll be a single width driveway that then widens out to provide the off-street parking for each unit. And certainly want to be able to maintain that because that would be preferable to two separate driveways. And the other suggestion was to eliminate the porch roofs from the minimum roof pitch requirement because they frequently are at a less severe pitch than the 4x12 that's being recommended as a minimum. So you'll see both of those changes in your recommended ordinance language today. Just some housekeeping things. The majority of the design standards will be incorporated into section 28.54 of the current ordinance. This is the exterior construction and design requirements, and essentially we're replacing that entire section. Today it focuses primarily on masonry requirements and exterior building materials, and of course the cities are no longer allowed to regulate those. So you'll see us having removed references to masonry requirements pretty much throughout the ordinance as part of this update. We're also adding some new definitions so it's clear what we're talking about when we say that we want, we've added a base course as an option for design, and then we'll use some photos and graphics to illustrate the various architectural features. I'll go through what we're proposing first for single-family duplex, triplex, and quadruplex requirements. These focus on building articulation, really trying to provide a wide range of options for builders so that it's, they have a lot to pick from and it's not too challenging to meet these requirements. But again, want to make sure that there are some enhanced standards. For single family, a builder would have to use 3 of these items that are listed on the screen and in your report. Talking about brick patterns, porches, shutters, various box windows, bay windows, that type of thing. We are making a recommended change on garages currently. They can extend in front of the rest of the house. We are proposing to allow garages to extend at least 3 feet in front of the house, again, to provide some articulation and eliminate just flat facades. Just some examples. For driveways and parking, again, we're trying to minimize the appearance of parking and paving in the front yards. We're adding an option for a ribbon driveway that could go along the side of a house if the parking is in the rear. And a ribbon driveway essentially is 2 strips of pavement separated by a grass strip. And you see some of these in older neighborhoods already in Denison. I mentioned earlier the 3-foot grass strip requirement between duplex driveways, again, so that it's not just a single, slab of pavement in the front yard. For triplexes and quadruplexes, all of the parking would be required to be to the rear of the main building with a driveway on one side of the lot to access that parking. And then we've talked a lot with the commission about trying to encourage the use of alleys, and so staff will continue to talk with Public Works about some of the standards that might help us provide more utilization of alleys for driveways and parking, to get paving out of the front yards. Just here's an example of a ribbon driveway. I mentioned earlier we're trying to establish a minimum roof pitch for roofs, not the porch roofs, but just the primary roof of 4 inches by 12 inches and address overhangs correspondingly to those roof pitches. We've also proposed a requirement on elevation repetition so that the same house isn't essentially just duplicated side by side as you go down the street in a subdivision. And one of our original proposal on this was to require this if there are 10 lots or more in the subdivision. And after talking with staff, we are now recommending that the 10-lot minimum be removed. And this is to address infill housing and infill lots, where a builder might have 3 lots side by side, 5 lots, and we want to see, again, some change in elevations even in these smaller subdivisions. So that is a change from what's in your staff report today. And we also talked a bit about accessory dwelling units and how they probably are not going to really match the primary unit on the lot, but we are adding a requirement that a accessory dwelling unit use one of the facade materials, same facade materials that's on the main house. And I think this is a starting point to start to regulate ADUs, and you may see more and more of those being built as a response to affordable housing concerns. I'll move next into townhouses, and again, we're working kind of on a bigger scale here with the buildings, but then the individual units are narrower. So with building articulation, we're recommending that only 2 of the architectural design requirements have to be met, again, recognizing the narrower unit size. Again, trying to regulate roof pitch, requiring dormers, gables, change in the roof height on each unit so you don't have just a single linear roof design. Here's some examples on the roof as to what we're going to be requiring. And the first picture doesn't meet the roof requirement, and the second one does, where each unit has something different to distinguish its roof line. Townhouse standards also include some mechanical unit requirements for roof-mounted units. And again, there's some elevation repetition standards in the proposed ordinance. For multifamily developments, we're proposing regulations to address, here again, we're dealing with much bigger buildings and multiple buildings in a multifamily development. There are requirements proposed for horizontal wall plates so that you have some articulation in the facade, and then also roof treatments that features dormers, gables, change in the roof height, again, trying to provide some variety in the facade requirements. Here's some examples of some recent, fairly newer apartment developments that are in the Texoma region. We're also proposing mechanical unit requirements for multifamily buildings, and also a change in the amenities that are required. And most apartment developers now provide kind of a wide range of amenities. I think this is more expected by their tenants. Denison's current ordinance requires a playground and then swimming pool, depending on the number of units. And so those would be retained. We are switching up the ratio a bit, but then also a developer would have to provide at least one more amenity from this list. And I think these are pretty standard as to what you're seeing now in newer apartment developments, fitness centers, dog parks, barbecue grills around the pool, that type of thing. And staff does recommend approval of recommendation to the City Council for approval of the design standards with the change made on the elevation repetition that I mentioned earlier. And be glad to answer any questions that you have today. This will go to the City Council depending on your action today at its meeting on the 20th, next Tuesday.
I've got a couple questions. One, over in the single-family duplex, triplex standards over there, you call out base courses. Mm-hmm. Can we be more specific as to what we're considering a base course?
A base course is typically, it's a different brick pattern, a different material along the base of a house. You see this on I've seen it on some of the newer infill houses in Denison. It doesn't have to be a different material. It can be just a different brick pattern. Sometimes it separates the, floors too.
Is there a size or height on that, or?
Pardon?
I mean, could it?
Well, my question is, are we considering a water table? Is that what we're talking about when we're talking about a base course, where we're doing it? For example, I'll do a lot of times, I'll bring up 24 inches off the finished floor and do a line. Even on a frame house, I'll do it with a two-layered material of wood or whatever to create a difference in, and then on the bottom I might do a horizontal and above a vertical board and bat kind of thing, just to break the wall up. That's what I'm trying to, that's what I'm asking is base course, do we need to be more specific with that and call it out as a water table, which is what the actual term is?
Could it include base course and or water table?
It could, yeah.
I think it's just semantics at that point, so if
Okay.
clarifying it by including both words would help, then.
For the builder developer.
Yeah, if we could do that.
Okay. And I think what you're describing is what we're trying to promote.
Right. It breaks the wall up where you just don't have one constant
Yes.
mass there. The second thing is on the screening over there where we talked about the 6-foot tall wood screening around the condenser units. That bothers me just a little bit from the standpoint that sometimes those spaces are more constrictive. Mm-hmm. And if we build a taller fence around them, it's not allowing air circulation for the condenser units. Could we back that down to, because I think 4 foot would be plenty of height to hide the condenser units.
Could it read similar as the roof one, where it's higher than the unit but a maximum of?
I think that's reasonable, given the height of the outside units
Yeah.
for these, and not wanting to restrict the airflow.
4 foot, I mean, for a single family or even a multifamily, you're not gonna have a condenser unit that's gonna be taller than 4 foot tall. Now, on a multifamily thing where they're, well, it's still not gonna be there, because each one of them's gonna have, and they're not gonna have, the system won't be that large, so I think 4 foot would be plenty of height to screen those condenser units. And are we gonna leave the separation on the duplex driveways, or are we gonna leave that in this ordinance, or we're not taking that out, correct?
We're not removing it, but there is an exception if you do a single width driveway. So if a duplex developer chooses to do 2 separate drives, then there has to be the grass separation.
Okay, but if the 2 garages are together and they just wanna do one driveway, then we're not gonna,
That's correct, yes. If the way the language is written, if it's a single width drive, then there's not you don't have to essentially, I think the concern we heard from the builders was that the ordinance would now require 2 separate driveways with the grass strip. And what we heard from them was that some of them are building a single drive, and then it just flares out in front of the house to the
so
parking.
we're talking about the approach.
Single car approach.
Yes.
Yeah.
Excuse me, their concerns were cost of
Yeah.
concrete or
My concern
asphalt.
is the difficulty for people backing out. And I like the grass strip idea of separating the 2 driveways, because that's a potential, Diane and I talked about this yesterday, that's a potential for neighbors to get into it. You parked over on my side of the driveway, and if we've got a separation and it visually breaks all that concrete up, I mean, if you wanna see how bad that looks, to go to Sherman, where they've got the 1 parking place per bedroom requirement, the whole front yard's concrete, even on single family houses. So you definitely want to try to avoid that, but I don't know, man, is Public Works okay with them doing that single approach into a double driveway?
Go ahead.
So, case-by-case basis, they look at shared driveway approach opportunities. And most of the time, it's lot restriction based, but anything that's on the other side of that approach is not, there's no standards for it that Public Works oversees. Like Phyllis said, this was something that the builders brought up. If the commission feels not supportive of this is definitely something that we can take back to council, because I see both sides of it.
Yeah, it is an additional cost, there's no doubt about that, because concrete's expensive, but
also, what's the practicality with the setback of these garages, actually having room to get through a single approach and actually separate? Chances are you're gonna be driving over the grass anyway, right? I mean, I can see both sides as well from the cost, but, I mean, if you could be dealing with a 20-ish foot driveway being on the sidewalk with our setbacks, right?
I can tell you right now that the way the ordinance is written from a lot standpoint, if you already have an established lot that, or a legally platted lot that falls within that 2-family zoning district, we're talking about a duplex, right? You're looking at, excuse me, most likely a 50-foot wide lot. And so think about that and what that looks like from a driveway approach standpoint. If they are wanting to utilize that duplex zoning in any other district, they're having to do 100 by 100. And so, and that's how the ordinance currently reads. And so take that for what you will with what you're thinking about.
Your advantage is you preserve street parking.
Exactly. Well, I would like to commend both staff and our consultant there from taking the stuff we gave you and making it a pretty good shinola. The question I have is, especially talking with the builders and their considerations of cost, with the multifamily, is there a concern that we may be pricing out some of our lower income residents? Was that ever talked about or addressed
That would not come into consideration in this discussion.
at all?
No, I don't see that as being, those are two very different
Economics is not an issue.
issues.
I understand. The percentage increase in cost, did the builders talk about how much more it would increase?
No, they didn't provide any estimates. It's just they see any additional requirements as things that they have to pass on to ultimately to the buyer.
I know it's not an issue, but I'll answer your question for you. Outside of the approach issue, which would be a substantial expense, what we're asking them to do as far as the architectural elements, there's
Only
very
two.
little percentage cost.
Yeah, there's only two.
It's not an
And
issue.
one for the amenities.
Yeah, it's not an issue at all. I'll answer that one for you.
I'll add, we had some builders from the Metroplex, one group, and they didn't feel that cost was an issue at all. So I think it depends on where you're used to building and where they're coming from. And we've seen that as staff in our conversations and in our pre-development meetings as to what appears to be an issue and what in actuality is an issue. So just as in many different cases in the economic side, a lot depends on where you're coming from, what you're accustomed to, and the resources that you have available to you. So in addressing affordable housing and things like that, we've discussed as staff how to move forward with some of the multifamily, if there are things that we can put in place to guarantee a certain percentage, but that's a little further down the road
Yeah.
outside of this conversation.
I agree.
ADU
That-
addresses that.
Correct.
And not germane here to this, but I'd be interested to understand at some later point, probably outside this, why is Denison's building costs higher than others?
I'll be happy to have a conversation with you.
Good.
And understand too, that as we move forward from this point, that when new subdivisions are developed, there's gonna be deed restrictions and covenants that are gonna be put in place that will probably supersede what we're doing here. So a lot of this will be in,
Yeah, this,
immaterial
but this
whenever
is
we
the
get.
baseline, this is our minimum standards as a
Yep.
city.
But, new developments, it's gonna be, I think will exceed what we're asking them to do if they wanna build in
Sure,
those
so it brings
subdivisions.
people there.
Yeah. The only other thing it slipped my mind, is the 4 and 12 thing going below 4 and 12? Is that what I'm interested in?
Only for porch roofs.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. Here's the problem with going below 4 and 12, okay, and this is a problem for the homeowner, is that in most composition roof manufacturers, you have no warranty on that roof if it goes below a 4 and 12 pitch. They will not warranty it because the slope is not great enough to get the waters off of it like it should. So typically, if I've got something that's falling below a 4 and 12, I have to switch and I go to, standing seam metal to cover that. So that might be something we're gonna think about. If we're gonna let them go with lower than a 4 and 12, then they may have to use an alternate roof material, or else prove to us with documentation to Kirkland that the roof would be warranted at a lower pitch. Typically, it's not. So, that would be something that the homeowner would have to deal with in the future because it decreases the lifespan of the roof. So, that's just a suggestion. We don't have to do it, but.
I'd like to ask Kirk, if that's good for you?
Yeah, comes with a warranty, so if that is a thing, then yeah, I like that idea.
Okay.
So the idea would be to have them submit documentation that the warranty would be in place if it's below 4 and 12. If not, then they have to use an alternate roof.
Is that something we will add in here or condition for the motion?
I think that's something that we can just add, based off of this conversation, and determine if it's appropriate to put it in the ordinance, or if that's something that we need to ensure that it's, provided at the time of permit.
Okay.
can leave that to you to decide.
Thank you, sir.
Anything else for Phyllis? Phyllis, thank you so much.
Thank
As
you.
usual, great job.
Thank you.
Anyone else here like to speak on this request? Either for or against? One more time. Anybody want to speak? Okay. I'm going to close the public hearing, and I will entertain a motion.
I move to recommend the approval of the proposed amendments to the zoning ordinance to regulate architectural design standards for residential development.
I'll second.
Okay. I think Angela was the first on that one, so we'll give it to her. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Motion carries. Staff updates.
Thank you, sir. I don't have very many. I do want to first and foremost thank you for all of your time and effort that was put into these residential architectural standards. It started with a workshop, a couple of staff updates, and then obviously where we're at today. And we greatly appreciate your input and dedication to moving this forward. So thank you. With that, because y'all did such a great job, we're going to be bringing a couple of other items before you for consideration in the workshop form. Some of those items may be related to accessory dwelling units. We need to establish standards from a life and safety standpoint to possibly expand the allowance of those throughout the city. Additionally, we will be looking at band-aiding for the time being some of our zoning ordinance related to use regulation chart. It is very outdated, and so our planning staff is taking that on, and sometime in February we'll be bringing that for you to hopefully recommend a public hearing. Do you have anything? Training. And we'll also have some training for our commission as well as alternates. It's a new year, new you, right? So that'll be coming the first meeting in February. Yes.
So the reward for good work is more work?
Yes.
And the reward for asking for training in a different board and commission is getting it for all of the boards and commissions.
Sorry, guys.
We will try to not overwhelm you with both of those. So right now the training is looking at February 10th. Is that appropriate? Okay, and then we'll most likely bring the workshop items at the end of February, whether that looks like a full-blown workshop similar to what we've done in the past or provided as a staff update. We'll determine that based on the workload. So.
Awesome. All right, well, I think we're off to a good start. Good to see everybody back. And, I think we've assembled a good team again, and we've got good alternates, so I think it's going to be a good year for us. And I appreciate everybody being involved. So since there's no other business to come before the commission, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I so move.
Second.
Have a motion with a second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We stand adjourned at 10:48 a.m. Thank y'all for being here.